Raina as well. The only sort of Swedish player that I know of for a while.
Well, we're getting underway. It's going to be the attack in towards the B side. Padge immediately taking some space. Tailwinding right in towards Petra. Mimi actually getting one from the Nano Swarm too. So G2 off to a flyer here. 2 first kills. Flash underhand thrown out for Mary. No kill from it just yet, but significant control of this round for G2. The 2 site defenders are still in the site as well. And you've got this swing, this expendable player of Mary who comes swinging out to take another. And with that, that should be the round done. It is going to be at least 2 kills on the way out the door, but G2 with a very strong showing in the pistol round.
Now, I don't know who, and I don't think it was, so let me clarify. RixGG just played up against Gozen, a roster that Gozen has been trying to sort of mold into being also a very diverse roster. You know, some of the Swedish players that I'm not too familiar with, like I am with, of course, Raina, but you got Mels and Nessa and whatnot, and then you got I think they've got a French and Turkish player as well, so it's a nice mixture of that roster. They 2-0'd them, and they also played Ascent with a 13-7 Gozen. So they just played this map. They're back on it again, but this time it is quadruple the firepower that's facing them. And I thought Juliano got the kill there through the wall, but it was Petra and Ninou falls. It's got this mid-control, and I tell you what, there's been a lot of intel being gained multiple times each round, and it was a slaughter as a result.
Oh, flawless for G2. Can't be bad to that one, Jess. That is...
Not to have the fade. I would say not having the prowlers is something I would miss.
Yeah.
When you're so good and you get so much intel and you know how to proactively and reactively use those recons. As you can see, her changing the diversity. She's played Sova for so long. She knows how to change it up and not get caught in the predictability spiral that can often happen to teams this day, Juliano. Yeah.
Well... It's going to be 2 easy picks for Rix right off the get-go. Right off the ripper, you can be pretty happy about that for Rix. It's been a pretty one-sided start in these first 2 rounds, but as soon as the rifles come out, as soon as the better guns come out for Rix, you're able to handle the start of this bonus at least. But now it's about making sure you confirm this round, and you're going to be attacking in towards Petra, who, as we've mentioned, has been playing pretty well, but she's going to be under the full force of this execute with all the utility going down.
There are sprinting flankers on the way. They are so far from being able to do the damage. And I think Ninou knows about this because of the alarm block. This is the kind of thing we're talking about, is that G2 in their previous matchup was able to have pretty impactful flanks, but that was because of the mistakes, the unforced error of their opponent. I don't think Rix will make the same mistake. So G2 is really going to learn here that, you know, you look at their composition, they're going to have the alarm bot to work with, no chamber.
G2 tested in some rounds tactically, but you know, when it came down to the retake scenario, when it came down to winning your fights, G2 had no contest, but Rix should be providing much more of an even battle in that respect. And G2 at least looking to try and get openings over towards A. At the moment, being held back, and Rix have actually gone ahead and taken themselves a little bit of space here, and they'll be pretty happy with the fact that they've managed to take some of the space comfortably without losing a player. Now, they would have probably liked to have used less utility, but they've got out at least towards this choke point.
I believe Ninou had a lineup just there for Heaven. I saw Juliano scrambling to try and destroy it before it went off. I'm not sure if that was a lineup from all the way back, but that's an interesting one. This is when we're talking about difference of skill level between Kase Hydra and RixGG. There it is. We're talking about spawn levels.
Goes ahead and doubles up. Glance able to come through as well. There's a couple of kills being found here in the mix for Rix, and they're doing a quite good job at actually keeping competitive here. That could have easily went the way of G2, and comfortably so. The doorways will be broken open, and this becomes now a very tough challenge of closing this one out. Liri goes down to Petra, and it's now just Ninou left alone inside of the site. And look at that. Petra's on one right now. Just unbelievable shots coming through from Petra. Has one quiet round where she gets overwhelmed at the back of the site, but as soon as she gets a good gun in her hands, unstoppable. Hunter's Fury available in 3 rounds for G2.
Top 8 teams going head-to-head here. You got to look at the macro stuff like that, Nico.
Well, quick mid-control being taken here for Rix. And when I say quick, I mean lightning fast. They're all the way up in towards the top mid already. Cloudburst will fade away. But, getting caught. Mary catches from behind. That's an immediate shot. And Juliano making sure that G2 are extending upon these initial kills. And remember, Petra did have that Hunter Fury available and decides to use it in this round. G2 putting authority all over this one. Stamping authority where it needs to go. And it's all cleaned up. A flawless round for G2 yet again. 4-1 on the board. And that was Rick's with commitment on rifles. They got a lot of control early on in the round, and it's
this map, and we jump into the 6th round here. If I can count correctly, we all know how that goes with me with counting. I'd like to see the side of Rick slow it down, because they've been caught out of the fact that G2 lets them into what they think is a power position and then holds crosses on it. That's something that's been limiting them. And every time G2's thrown a knife, and Mary's been able to collect massive amounts of information. So if they could slow it down, make them sweat a little bit here, things will go a lot better for the side of Ricks.
Yeah, I think they came into this with a let's bring the battle right to G2 right off the get-go. Try and force them to respect it, see what we can get away with. But G2 have come in. Everybody's warmed up. When you have people like Juliano and you have, you know, you've got Petra stepping up alongside Mary, there's just so much firepower in the team. There's so many weapons you can choose from that it's very hard to get through a quick round and expect them not to have a multi-kill. So this slower, more tentative approach might work out for them. Rick's already lost that first player. Not expecting too much given the situation over there economically in this round, but being held at bay by the Nano Swarm. Not getting any further here.
Placing swamp grenade.
Juliano about to deliver the peek out. She goes forward, she gets away with it, and she gets back to cover. That is massive from Juliano, and Mary able to come through too. Padge at least getting something here for Ricks, but again, you've got to deal with Petra, who's just been unstoppable, unbreakable towards the back of the boathouse, and she'll extend for the double kill and the 5th round here for G2. It's not flawless. You support that, right, and make that sustainable. So obviously everyone plays an essential role. Mimi and Glance often in that position to let the Hounds of War get going. Padge, the sharpest weapon available here to Ricks. Looking for this early A fight. Goes up on top of the wall, peers down. No one challenging here for G2. So they're letting them have this outside A control and allowing them to take that orb without much of a contest. Where before Ricks had to use up without much of a contest. Where before Ricks had to use up quite a bit of utility, but this is a very good opportunity for Ricks to at least put a second on the board. Just look at the amount of ultimates available right now, right? You've got the Null Command, you've got the Cosmic Divide, you've got the Lockdown, you've got every single ultimate online. And we'll see if Padge can create some space here. Unless these initial fights go so badly, Rick should be getting themselves into a pretty good position, and they're actually going to invest the Lockdown. And the Prowler being sent forward here, confirming Mary's position and forcing her away. This is great work from Ricks. Just taking some control, using that Lockdown to create space, and now they're heading in towards the A side.
Oh, that's a late push in. Without that Cosmic Divide, that would have been a really late push for the plant. That execution, especially with the Lockdown, was a little bit poorly timed, but the fact that you have that counter coming in from the KO there, it means that Mary is able to stop anything further, doesn't want any of this post-plan, and she'll fall. It's a mistimed swing with Mimi. And this power control, look at all of these post-plan positionings. This is for the triple.
Ooh. Well, Mimi goes for the peak and doesn't win the battle. So now G2 are down a player, and they have to go into this. So much invested. Let me remind you how much Ricks have put into winning this one. Ultimates invested across the board, and they have to hold it. But Glance is coming in with a double. Petra able to follow up. And now we're down to a 2 versus 2. This is so difficult to see this one happening. Padge is going to hold, trying to buy time, but it certainly goes around Juliano. That's all she needs. It's now Ninou with everything, but the time, it's limited. There's not enough of it, and G2 are going to have to run away. It's so hard to see that one happening for G2 due to the time, and Ninou just needs to stay alive, and that's exactly what she'll do, heading off to her merry way. So
it was very expensive for Ricks. It shows that they understand fundamentally if they can get into a post-plan position where they need to be and how. I mean, look how quick that is, that response. Recon above, smoke it off. Who's going to peek it? Who's going to be able to trade? Who's peeking off of me? This is some high-level stuff. The trade game is impeccable. The blue, red, blue on my kill feed is superb, and I love a good Christmas tree scrolling down the right-hand side of my screen. It means both teams are trading, and that's fundamentals to a T.
Well, it's getting pretty cold outside, Jess, so it'll be pretty soon we're getting the Christmas tree out. But a minute left on the clock, are just over here for G2, and given the fact they have still got that 4v3 player advantage at the moment, they should be feeling pretty good about this. Ninou using that turret just to counter some info. That's sure it's
Oh, I
out
love
of there,
that.
but that's a great way of getting rid of it. Destroying with utility, and that sacrifices the info. They don't know if there's a player up here. Glance's position is covered off, and still is covered off, because Mary got that first pick. No one's seen the player on top of the rafters, so getting through into this A site is so difficult. They go forward, they go into the battle, but it's just too little too late. The crossfire is just too strong, and G2 are just using fundamentals to devastating effect right now.
And it's all utility, baby.
I'm pretty sad that Shrek is considered boomer now. Like
I know,
that's the
we are
first time
old.
in my life.
Yeah.
That's the first time in my life I've ever felt old due to culture. That's kind of scary.
Welcome.
There's no turning back now, Jess. It just gets worse, doesn't it?
It really does.
What's next? But right now,
Ooh.
Glance.
I love that. A little bit of intel collection. See if anyone was moving up in mid. We know Ricks love to poke around mid. First quarter of this half, they were dominant on taking that mid control, and by just having that little look towards mid and confirming no one was there just yet meant that they didn't have to rotate yet. Now they should.
Look at this contact play from Ricks. Look how many players are getting up mid. But the problem is G2 have designed their setup to deal with this. Like, they're aware that this is a possibility. They're aware this is actually the only thing that they've given Ricks. And given that the fact that utility is now being destroyed, they have to be entirely aware that defender spawn has to be a flank option. But Juliano's been smoked off, so she can't really do anything about it at range. They're just going to run around and wrap from heaven down in towards the A side.
Who's the defender?
Yeah, this is all over the place right now, Jess, but the plant is coming in. They finally found one player in the back lines, and Juliano down clean on the Blade Storm. Mary comes in to help, and just like that, G2 have come through. And yeah, they can see the plant, but they don't lose a single player.
All of a sudden, if there was no color indications as to who was the attacker or who's the defender, I would have been lost in the sauce.
I'd buy that if it was a
would
board
too.
game.
I would too.
How would you play hide and seek as a board? Oh, we're going to have a walkout, a group up here for the attacking side of Ricks outside of A. They've been going for a lot of heavy hits, right? There hasn't been a lot of defaulting or baiting out utility. It's been a lot of these heavy spawn-based plays, and they're using whatever they've got to try and break this initial choke point. Prowler goes out first. Glance just deals with it. Again, Rick's using a bit of utility, taking this A lobby control, getting that first orb, and that gets the null command online here for Raina. So let's see if they decide to use it. They might just try and pop and go into this A site. And because G2 have pushed everything else, they are so ready for this. Will they get here in time? Glance gets one, gets traded by Ninou, and now they've forced their way in. The null command's being sent out, and they're into the site now for Ricks.
Notice as well, every single G2 player, especially over towards door, tree, and garden, backed up. Because this is what we saw them do in series number 1. They had idealized the retake, and that's a little bit too far gone, a little bit too late on that ulti there, but it doesn't really matter because we know G2 loves their retakes, but it's a little mistimed on this one.
Yeah, G2's retakes not happening this time. Usually so clean, usually systematic, but it is damn good for Ricks this time around. And I think that's exactly a sustainable play style, but it gets a third round on the board here.
I'll find you.
I knew it. I knew the moment that knife hit, we know Juliano will stick around. In fact, we know most G2 players. Mimi did it on Icebox, for example. Doesn't matter if you're spotted, recon, fade, haunt, doesn't matter. They're willing to stick it out and stand there.
Yeah, it's a little weird though how slow she was to react entirely. Juliano didn't react at all. You know, usually she can stick around there because she's so quick on the trigger, but no reaction from Juliano.
Padge Ferrari peeked her from tiles, man.
Yeah,
at that point, you just got to admit defeat. She didn't even see her, I bet. She was gone. She was 6 feet under by the time she had Ferrari peeked. And what is this? Don't do the attacker. The defender becomes the attacker again, guys. What is going on? Is there an alarm bot? Yes.
There's no one in A site right now, though, so there's no one to really delay this, and the flank doesn't actually become that lethal because there's no distraction to be had. So you try and move forward, try and get it behind. You are going to at least get one, but it's going to be pretty messy. This could have been very clean for G2, but it's still pretty solid. They're in a 3 versus 2 environment. There's this flank, and you're in a really tough spot where Ricks are spread thin. The retentions have to be focused on so many different avenues, and utility is now forcing her out of position, and Mimi's going to come in, confirm herself a 3k and the retake. This time G2 successful in doing so because they can actually use their utility.
It's interesting how, you know, a couple of shock darts spawn because Juliano might want to go for a nice retake, and no one likes to retake with an operator, so good little bit to point out there. But yeah, doubling down on the fact that G2 wants to play retake only. It is not a popular strategy because it doesn't have a huge success rate for teams in any tier level. So it's very interesting to me.
Once again, it's going to be this very early play towards A for Ricks. A bit more tentative in the approach.
Recalling my bot.
Here comes the stars being lined up. The nebula for smoke cover, and here comes the dive in. Padge making space, getting deep in towards the site. But look at this. G2 have decided to play retake again. They often feel comfortable putting themselves in this position. Information should be good enough for Mary to be realized. There's one close towards the doorway. Juliano about to come in from heaven. They were fine playing retake because they knew they had this lockdown too. So this is going to help things out. But look at that fragment lineup. That's going to try and destroy that lockdown, and it will work out. It'll work out perfectly. Fantastic catch there from Zilf. And now the attacking towards the side. Juliano and Glance, a couple of kills already picked up. And the defuse starting to be stuck already halfway. G2 so efficient in retakes. Just so good at getting back into the site.
But we move into the second half now. See if a 9-3 curse is able to give a defensive sidedness to Ricks that has otherwise eluded all of the G2 opponents so far.
Well, this is very quick from G2 up middle, and no one has stopped Juliano from getting this far up, so they can just position her in that spot to cut off rotations. She's more of a late round player because now we focus on G2's main pack. We're trying to get through tree. A little late on the reaction of the Nano Swarm, and that is going to allow them forward in towards the site. G2 putting the spike down, and Juliano now becomes activated. The kill already there on Raina. She spotted 2 towards defender spawn 2, so that's great information. but she has been smoked off. She's in the middle of a 1v1 fight and she'll win it, but she has to have caught the information. There is one towards defender spawn that you have to be worried about. And OYKU is making no secret about where she's coming from. Over the top, at least gets the pick here, but there's still so much to find. There's still so many G2 players within the defender spot. They can just position her in that spot to cut off rotations. She's more of a late round player because now we focus on G2's main pack to try and get through tree. A little late on the reaction of the Nano Swarm, and that is going to allow them forward in towards the site. G2 putting the spike down, and Juliano now becomes activated. The kill already there on Raina. She spotted 2 towards defender spawn too, so that's great information. But she has been smoked off. She's in the middle of a 1v1 fight and she'll win it, but she has to have caught the information. There is one towards defender spawn that you have to be worried about. And OYKU is making no secret about where she's coming from. Over the top, at least gets the pick here, but there's still so much to find. There's still so many G2 players within this site, and Juliano is just having a field day. Lovely rounds again here for G2. Your hope.
Rix's map pick. So you come into a map, you get, this is your primary pick. This is not a tertiary pick by any means. You come in and you go, this is the map I want to play against G2. What is happening in Boathouse? Are we going on a trip that I'm not aware of? Why am I not invited? First and foremost, shout out to the Rix manager, Wolf. I would like a ticket, so you know where to send it.
You know, funny thing about Wolf. I was in Dallas, and and Wolf was there, but we had never met, we'd never been acquainted, and every morning we would walk to the lift, you know, the elevator, and talk to each other, and you know, I don't think we kind of knew what each other were doing, and you know, at the end of the event, before we even discovered what we're doing at the event, we then realized, you know, who each other were, and we kind of messaged. But that was pretty funny. I finally know who Wolf is, and it's just hilarious now that we met every day and didn't really realize. Well,
I think Wolf was expecting a different outcome for this map as well. So
yeah, I'm sure. Maybe got the sound off, the hands over the eyes at the moment, probably. This is the boathouse stack not working out. And Juliano with a 4K and a flawless round for G2. You love that one, Juliano. You got to just spray it down in one foul sweep.
And that's how far back my lineage goes with women's tournaments. So great to still be here. Great to still have some of these women who have been influential for so long still in the scene. And speaking about influential, Ninou, she's trying to be influential in this round. She's going to need to be, otherwise it's match point for G2.
Well, Glance and Petra, very solid stuff again here for G2 as they're into the site. Committing to the plant, but Utilities made that a little bit difficult. Flash going off the top of heaven. Padge about to be unleashed, and Padge is going to get a double kill. So, from looking comfortable to G2, to now having to be a real battle to get back into this one. Once again, Petra successful. Prowler hunting down Mimi. But the sharpest tool in the shed, a player that so often gets you into these rounds is Padge, and just so low. 21 health, and now spotted by the Owl Drone. Needed to get out of that. And now this recon bolt's about to confirm the position of the last remaining player in this situation. Ooh. So G2 getting a lot of information and now can start to consider how they want to set up in this one. Spike finally planted. The retake attempt has to come in. Padge is so low, and Petra flicks up and does a little bit of overkill with the headshot. Ooh. But okay, that's incredible. Double as Mimi and Petra both go down, and the retake is successful. Only a long way back, but that's the kind of round that kind of hypes you up a little bit, you know, individually speaking, hypes your team up a bit.
Standing ahead.
You can quickly get momentum back in a game of Valorant, but the problem is you're playing a very solid team like G2, right? The best that we've got here in the Game Changer. It's a tough one, but Raina setting up. Good flash peek in towards the mid-fight. Juliano and Mary both down early. And Rix could be happy about the start of this with a double picked up.
It is not often you can KO diff Mary. But if Raina can keep delivering those kind of moments, I believe in it. I believe that she can be diffed. I don't think it's possible 9 times out of 10, but Raina, if she can keep up that kind of flash pop, this is the map to do it. And Mary so far looking like she's going to have a battle against Raina, and OYKU still hasn't died. We can count that from last round as well, her having immense impact.
One enemy remaining. Spike down B.
All cleaned up. and that it will be the fantastic work coming through for Rix. The initial fights bit to the Guardian, it looks like. It's not the best buy here for G2, and you would hope that Rix should take this round, but you never really know. You can never feel too comfortable, even when G2 have got some weaker guns.
Ooh, that was almost a bit of team damage there, Petra. Not sure what you were aiming for. Maybe giving Juliano, just keeping her on her toes. Make sure she's got the WASD. Yeah. Keep the WASD. Can't let this comeback happen.
A little bit of, we're seeing a bit of team drama here, I think.
She turned around as well to double check what was going on. Yeah. No, we love a little bit of the banter with the G2 crew. I
have loved their TikTok game today as well.
Incredible.
They always have some great content coming out of these girls.
If they ever, which would hurt me dearly, if they ever want to, retire from FPS gaming, they have a big career as actresses, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely would. 40 seconds, glance goes forward, range like that, on top, and that's what I'm talking about. But Padge, that's what you've been waiting for. You've been waiting for her to arrive. Glance doesn't even know where Padge is. Down with a 4. But it was not to be. Mimi now pushes out to the Guardian. Inaccurate on the shot, crossing over the doorway. But Padge finally has arrived to the server in a big...
I can see this. And whilst OYKU says, shit, they're good, I tell you what, she's put on a pretty damn good shot. I think they've worked out G2 now. Especially from an attacking standpoint. It's Ascent, it's defense. It's a great opportunity for you to be able to take back control of this match. But it's map number 1, it's your map pick. We're going to have to see a lot more here from Rix, and so far, there's a lot of good fundamentals.
Blocking sight.
Well, Mary commits to the ultimate. The null command coming in. Nano Swarm still set up upon the entry, but they're now nullified. They're going to be committed in towards the site. Ninou goes down. Juliano spams through the dark cover, and Ninou is down. First kill is good here for G2, and given the amount of ultimates they've got, I just don't see a world in which they lose this one. There's so many options for the post plant. It's going to be very tough to get back in here for Rix. You almost want to pull these ultimates out. You almost want to try and force a bit out of them. And there goes the lockdown. Trying to keep them at bay. Padge goes back into short. Reads the flank of Juliano. And is able to stop it from happening, but need to get out of that lockdown. And one player has actually been detained. Padge goes back. The second flank is a failure for G2. And they've actually lost quite a few members here. They're down to 3 players inside of the site. Mary's going to come out with at least one, putting an end to Padge. But there's the drop in. There's the pick through. And they're going back and forth. And Rix eventually come out on top. Nope. G2 had so much time, but it's just not enough of it. And G2 held so long. The Rix come out on top of the kills, just not the round.
Nail in the coffin upon which they're going to have to bring a brilliant comeback.
Nowhere to run!
Everything being sent in. G2 executing in upon the A side. Raina's done very well to get the first. And if she can buy some time, she can pull distraction. That might actually set a Padge in the top right corner to maybe get something out of this. The recon bolt covered off by the cloudburst. But G2 have kind of initially put a bit of sting on the site and then pulled away. They haven't committed on this. They haven't collapsed upon the site with the execute. And they realize because of the amount of time left, let's go have a look what map control is still available. You send a little bit of a feeler out mid with Mimi, just see what's still open. Is there anybody holding top mid? And right now, Rix are playing so passive that G2 actually have so much control of the map. They may be down a player, but they have so much space to work with right now.
That turret is going to give away so much information. At least that there is someone in mid.
It actually works in G2's favor a little bit because there's one player there, which might actually catch the defensive players off guard.